rugged landscapes of 1977's The White Buffalo, Charles Bronson delivered his final performance in a Western, a genre he had come to define. But behind the scenes, something darker was brewing. Bronson himself once cryptically remarked, "They took the soul out of it." What did he mean? Was it the studio's interference or something more sinister? As we delve into the making of this film, we uncover a story of tension, compromise, and a legend's final stand. What secrets lie buried in the dust of this forgotten classic? In the twilight of the 1970s, as the Western genre began to fade into the annals of cinematic history, The White Buffalo emerged as a bold, unconventional farewell. Charles Bronson, the stoic icon of rugged justice, stepped into his final Western role. But this was no ordinary tale of cowboys and outlaws. Behind the scenes, a daring vision was taking shape, a fusion of Western grit and horror's chilling embrace. The film's origins trace back to a desire to reinvent the genre, to push its boundaries into uncharted territory. Directed by J. Lee Thompson and penned by Richard Sale, The White Buffalo was more than a story of man versus beast. It was a metaphorical journey into the heart of fear, obsession, and redemption. Bronson's character, Wild Bill Hickok, haunted by a mythical white buffalo that symbolizes his deepest regrets, embarks on a quest that blurs the lines between reality and nightmare. But the film's creation was as intriguing as its narrative. Kim Novak, a Hollywood legend, commanded $50,000 for just 3 days of work, a testament to her star power. And in a twist of irony, Jack Warden, who plays Hickok's comrade, was only a year older than Bronson despite his character's repeated jabs at Hickok's age. This blend of genre-bending ambition and behind-the-scenes intrigue set the stage for a film that defied expectations. The White Buffalo wasn't just a Western, it was a haunting exploration of the human psyche, wrapped in the trappings of a monster movie. As the cameras rolled, the creators aimed to challenge audiences, to leave them questioning the nature of fear and the cost of obsession. But how did this unique vision come to life? And what drove its creators to take such a bold risk? The answers lie in the shadows of 1977, where the lines between myth and reality blur, and the true story of the White Buffalo begins. As the sun set on the 1970s, Charles Bronson's star power was undeniable. Fresh off a string of gritty, hard-hitting roles, Bronson had become the embodiment of the stoic, vengeance-seeking hero. The White Buffalo aimed to capitalize on this momentum, positioning Bronson as a larger-than-life figure in a genre that was itself on the brink of extinction. The film's ambitious production design sought to revive the Western with a twist, a mythical, almost supernatural edge. Bronson's character, Wild Bill Hickok, was no ordinary gunslinger. He was a man haunted by a legendary white buffalo, a symbol of his own mortality. The film's attempt to blend historical accuracy with fantasy was evident in its meticulous details, like the way Hickok carried his revolver's butt-forward sans holsters, a nod to the real Wild Bill style. Yet, it was the chemistry between Bronson and Jack Warden, who played Charlie, that added an unexpected layer of depth. Despite Warden being just a year older than Bronson, Hickok repeatedly calls him old-timer, a playful dynamic that humanized the otherwise stoic hero. John Carradine's portrayal of Undertaker Amos Briggs added a grim, foreboding presence, underscoring the film's darker undertones. Behind the scenes, the production was a gamble. The Western revival trend was waning, and The White Buffalo was a high-stakes bet on Bronson's ability to draw audiences. The film's grandiose sets and sweeping landscapes were a testament to its ambition, but the question lingered: could it reignite the genre's fading flame? As the cameras rolled, the buzz around Bronson's performance grew, but whispers of tension and turmoil on set hinted at a story far more complex than the one unfolding on screen. What began as a triumphant farewell to the Western soon became a cautionary tale of Hollywood's relentless pursuit of success. The initial excitement was palpable, but as the film's release approached, it became clear that The White Buffalo was more than just a movie. It was a reflection of an era's end and the price paid to keep it alive. In the twilight of the 1970s, as the Western genre began to fade into the annals of cinematic history, The White Buffalo emerged as a bold, unconventional farewell. Charles Bronson, the stoic icon of vengeance, stepped into the role of Wild Bill Hickok, a man haunted by a mythical beast. The film's peak moments are not just scenes, they are visceral experiences that etched themselves into the minds of audiences. Bronson's first encounter with the White Buffalo is a masterclass in tension. The camera lingers on his weathered face, his eyes narrowing as the creature emerges from the mist. It's a moment of primal fear and awe, a clash between man and nature that feels both ancient and immediate. The eerie dream sequences with their surreal imagery blur the line between reality and nightmare. Hickok's visions of the buffalo are not just hallucinations. They are psychological battles, a reflection of his own inner demons. And then there's the climactic showdown. Bronson, armed with his revolver's historically accurate butt-forward in a sash, faces the beast in a duel that feels less like a fight and more like a reckoning. It's a scene that encapsulates the film's themes of obsession, mortality, and the untamed wilderness. Behind the scenes, the film was just as compelling. Bronson's generosity toward co-star Kim Novak, who arrived nervous after years away from the screen, revealed a softer side to the rugged star. Intentionally botching his lines to ease her anxiety, he showcased the camaraderie that often goes unseen in Hollywood. The White Buffalo may not have been Bronson's most celebrated film, but its moments of raw intensity and its departure from traditional Western tropes made it a unique entry in his filmography. As Bronson's final Western, it stands as a haunting farewell to an era, a film that dared to explore the darker corners of the genre, leaving audiences with a lingering sense of unease and wonder. As the cameras rolled on The White Buffalo, Charles Bronson's dedication to his role as Wild Bill Hickok was nothing short of legendary. This would be his final Western, and Bronson approached it with the gravitas of a man closing a chapter. Behind the scenes, he immersed himself in the character, often staying in costume between takes to maintain the rugged authenticity that defined his career. But Bronson's commitment wasn't without its challenges. Filming in the harsh, unforgiving landscapes of the American West tested the crew's endurance, with unpredictable weather and remote locations adding layers of difficulty. One of the most daunting obstacles, working with live animals, including the titular white buffalo, a creature both majestic and notoriously difficult to control. The production team spent weeks training the animal, but on set, it often had a mind of its own, leading to several unplanned takes that tested everyone's patience. Despite the hurdles, there was a palpable camaraderie among the cast and crew. Jack Warden, who played the grizzled Charlie Zane, shared a natural chemistry with Bronson, though it's amusing to note that Warden was only a year older than Bronson. Despite his character repeatedly calling him old-timer, their banter off-camera was as sharp as their on-screen dialogue. Meanwhile, Kim Novak, who earned a staggering $50,000 for just 3 days of work, brought a quiet intensity to her role, though her brief appearance left some crew members joking about her paycheck-to-screen time ratio. Director J. Lee Thompson kept the set lively, often sharing stories from his own storied career to keep spirits high. One memorable anecdote involved Bronson insisting on performing his own stunts, even in scenes where the risk seemed unnecessary. His determination to make every moment feel real paid off, though it occasionally left the crew holding their breath. As the film wrapped, there was a sense of bittersweet accomplishment. The White Buffalo wasn't just a movie. It was a testament to Bronson's enduring legacy in the Western genre. And while it may not have been his highest-rated work, the behind-the-scenes stories of dedication, chaos, and camaraderie ensure its place as a fascinating chapter in cinematic history. Beneath the rugged surface of The White Buffalo, whispers of turmoil began to surface. Charles Bronson, embodying the stoic Wild Bill Hickok, delivered a performance that would cement his legacy in the Western genre. Yet, behind the scenes, the production was far from seamless. Rumors swirled of rushed reshoots, as if the studio was scrambling to salvage a vision that had already begun to fracture. Unexplained script changes left the cast and crew perplexed, with scenes rewritten seemingly overnight. Director J. Lee Thompson, known for his meticulous approach, found himself at odds with executives who seemed determined to impose their will. Even the chemistry between Bronson and Jack Warden, who played his grizzled companion, felt strained, despite their real-life age difference being negligible. John Carradine, as the somber undertaker Amos Briggs, added a layer of authenticity, but it couldn't mask the growing tension. The film's attention to historical detail, like Wild Bill's unique way of carrying his revolvers, hinted at a deeper commitment to the story, yet something was amiss. As the cameras rolled, the line between artistic vision and studio interference blurred, leaving a trail of red flags that would soon become impossible to ignore. In the final moments of The White Buffalo, a film that had meticulously crafted a dark existential narrative, the studio's intervention became glaringly apparent. What was meant to be a somber, tonally consistent conclusion, a fitting farewell to Charles Bronson's stoic Wild Bill Hickok, was abruptly hijacked. The ending, forced upon the filmmakers, was a jarring departure from the film's gritty, introspective core. It was a blatant attempt to appeal to wider audiences, sacrificing the very essence of the story for commercial viability. Bronson, who had poured his soul into this final Western, must have felt the betrayal keenly. His dedication to authenticity, right down to the historically accurate way he carried his revolver's butt forward in a belt, was undermined by a studio more concerned with box office numbers than artistic integrity. Behind the scenes, the tension was palpable. Bronson's kindness to co-star Kim Novak, who arrived nervous after years away from the screen, showed his commitment to his craft and his cast. He intentionally flubbed lines to ease her anxiety, a moment of humanity amidst the chaos. But even his efforts couldn't save the film from the studio's last-minute meddling. The result? A finale that felt out of place, a disservice to Bronson's legacy and the film's existential themes. The White Buffalo deserved better, its audience deserved better. This was no mere creative compromise. It was a revelation of the industry's willingness to sacrifice art for profit, leaving a stain on what could have been a masterful farewell. Despite its ambitious vision, The White Buffalo failed to captivate audiences, bombing at the box office and leaving Charles Bronson publicly disillusioned. Bronson, who had poured himself into the role of Wild Bill Hickok, was vocal about his frustration with the studio's last-minute changes, which gutted the film's intended somber tone. This marked Bronson's final Western, a genre he had once dominated. Behind the scenes, tension simmered, with Kim Novak earning a staggering $50,000 for just 3 days of work, a stark contrast to the grueling efforts of the cast. Director J. Lee Thompson, whose career had once soared with films like The Guns of Navarone, found himself increasingly marginalized by studio interference, a pattern that would haunt his later projects. The film's legacy remains a cautionary tale of artistic compromise, leaving Thompson's reputation tarnished and Bronson's Western legacy unfulfilled. In the end, The White Buffalo stands as a haunting reminder of what could have been. Had the studio trusted its vision, we might have witnessed a cult classic, a gritty, existential tale anchored by Charles Bronson's raw intensity. Instead, we're left with a film that, despite its flaws, hints at greatness. From Jack Warden's wry portrayal of Wild Bill Hickok to John Carradine's eerie Undertaker, the cast delivered. Yet, the true tragedy lies in what was lost, a cautionary tale for filmmakers everywhere. Let this be a call to preserve artistic integrity, for, in its untouched form, The White Buffalo might have roamed forever.